And to discuss the NATO summit, I'm joined live from Istanbul by SETA analyst Gloria Özdemir. Gloria, I want to thank you for joining us here today on A News. It's 2020. It's 2022. Many summits are described as historic, but the events of the last 24 hours, I think, deserve the name, as Turkey has pushed forward using diplomacy to try and resolve a situation which is for the benefit of the whole of NATO, and Finland and Sweden are taking a step up. What can you tell us about this opening day of the NATO summit in Madrid?
Exactly, as bit earlier, we have said a lot of historic days for NATO, but this is a really important one, and a historic one, we can say, because taking in consideration the environment and the different environment where it is taking place, considering that we have a new invasion of Russia, this time against Ukraine. So this once more brought to the fore the threat that NATO was created against, and we have once more Russia as the main subject, the Russian threat as the main subject. So for Turkey, that has been a member country of NATO for 70 years and which has been one of the main allies and members against the Russian threat, this day had totally another importance. Here, first and foremost, the most importance was not only in the sense that NATO, the invitation that was sent to Sweden and Finland, but it was also important for Turkey in the sense that after many years, Turkey's threat perception was taken into consideration by the NATO allies and also from the other European Union nations.
And this really is a tremendous step forward, isn't it? The PKK is a terrorist organization recognized by the United States, recognized by the European Union and other NATO members. And yet their affiliates, the PYD, YPG, have been supported by various NATO members. What was the memorandum that was issued last night by NATO and signed by Turkey, Sweden and Finland? As you just mentioned, it incorporates language which refers to PKK, YPG, PYD, as well as the FETÖ terror organization. Well, what is the general overriding importance of this, both for Turkey and for NATO, in fact?
The way how I see is the fact that for a long time Turkey has been trying to bring its perspective to the West, especially in terms of the threat from PKK or YPG and FETÖ as well. And this has been one of the main divergences between the West and Turkey, as the West, especially the US, has failed to understand this kind of national threat that Turkey has been perceiving and has been living for a long time. However, in the last night agreement or memorandum that was signed, for the first time, two Western states signed a document where they agreed to not support this kind of terrorist organizations, and on the contrary, what has happened until now, to support Turkey in its fight against these terrorist organizations. Something that's important as well, that we somehow, because we were focused on YPG and PKK and FETÖ, it's important also the fact that both Sweden and Finland, based on this memorandum, agreed to remove the arms embargo in terms of the arms exports arms trade between Turkey and both of the states, which I also think is a very important step for us.
And of course, the discussions, the diplomacy continue. Turkish Justice Minister Bekir Bozdağ is speaking about the extradition of 33 terrorists. So what are the next steps? Because the promises have been made in this memorandum, so there's still work to be done, isn't there?
Of course, what maybe we have witnessed most in the media today was kind of the question marks that we have towards these kind of promises. We have for a long time taken a lot of promises from the West, but not all of them, or just a few of them, have been given to Turkey. So in this sense, yeah, we are a little bit skeptic about that, but we should not forget also the fact that this is not a full membership of these two states into NATO. It is a two-step process. Here is just the invitation process, and then we have another one where the membership is approved. So Turkey, in my opinion, we have some time to see whether these two states are really interested in cooperating with us in this area. But I also have to mention that, the threat from Russia is very high for both these two states, and just sitting and signing such documents like the last night somehow proves to us that, these two states give a lot of importance and are willing to support Turkey in its fight towards terrorism, especially in PKK, YPG, and FETÖ.
Well, from my perspective, it's not just, and I think you'd agree with me, it's not just Turkey fighting against terrorism, it is beneficial for the whole of NATO. Now, you mentioned things that have been written in the media. Before we move on from this memorandum and the fact that there was some question mark over Finland and Sweden's invitation, but in fact no actual delay, because nothing would have been decided until yesterday anyway, or today anyway. There are cynics out there who've been accusing Türkiye of using this as a lever to try and dictate, I think one outlet said, to dictate its wishes on the whole of NATO. But in fact, this is Türkiye boosting the role of NATO against terrorism, isn't it?
Of course. First of all, for the first point, I totally agree with you that this is something very good for NATO as well, because Russia was expecting a divided NATO, but now that we see a kind of unified NATO, this somehow makes it harder for Russia to achieve its goals. And strengthening NATO is also one of the main goals of Turkey, because for 70 years Turkey has been one of the biggest militaries within NATO. So a strong NATO means a strong Turkey, and vice versa. So for that, I totally agree with you. For the second point, yes, there's been a lot of arguments or assessments that Erdogan or the Turkish government is using this as an opportunity. But here I need to remind the fact that even in the NATO Charter, when they talk about the membership and the process, the Charter itself gives the right to the states to bring to the fore their own national interest and to decide according to that for the membership of the new members.
Exactly.
So Turkey is doing nothing against the law here. I think